But until you begin to understand the science behind some of these things, to then know how to fight or walk contrary to them, how many people have been in turbulence when the thing is going up and coming down, and all the names of God in alphabet A to Z, they call everything 3 times. God is Alpha and Omega. B is the blessed Savior. C, they call to Z. They go all over again, calling God, praying and all that. Hi there, that's me again. Welcome to this special podcast where I am answering a few questions being asked by our audience out there, maybe based on some of the content we shared earlier or what I have experienced, to throw a bit more light as it affects me and as relatable to a lot more other people. So I've got my team have summed these whole questions to under a particular topic: priming the mind to get what it wants, the science and power of neuro-linguistic programming. And this happens to be one of my core competency when it comes to my training, my areas of teachings. I major in neuro-linguistic programming much more than any other thing. In fact, my PhD thesis was centered around using neuro-linguistic programming to help business leaders and executives in Africa. So, priming the mind to get what it wants. So, let me begin to read out the questions I've got here, and then I will answer them using a lens from my own end to throw a bit more light to them. Before we get into the science, give us a story. Tell us about someone whose life shifted dramatically from an NLP practice, not a theory, a real before and after transformation. So I have been privileged since I started my professional speaking and training career to have coached business-wise tens, and to have mentored and also coached as per my give back and foundation to hundreds of people. One story comes readily to mind. Because of time, I'll share just one. This young man, he was a Christian and then believed in God, prayed, did any and every other thing that you will do as an average Christian. But he had some forces around him that wouldn't let him go beyond where he was. It was like a law of gravity that each time he tried to jump, it pulls him back. But until you begin to understand the science behind some of these things, to then know how to fight or walk contrary to them, have you ever wondered how does such a very huge metal, like a 3-bedroom, 4-5-bedroom flat called an aeroplane, flies in the air? I have watched videos, I have researched, I have met pilots, countless number of them in the UK. I still don't get it. So there's a science around this thing. And once you get the science, you know how it works. You know how to align to make it favor you. And that was what he did. In one of my programs, one of my podcasts, he was behind the camera to shoot me. And when he got through, part of his job was to edit the video before we post them online. While editing, of course, at some point, he decided to pause and ask himself, what this guy is saying, if it is true, let me listen to it for myself. So he stopped the editing and went back to the beginning and listened to the video from start. And he got at a point where I gave an assignment. And what was it? I said, write what you want. He then wrote what he wanted, one of which was, I think this was at the top of the list. He wanted to travel to Dubai, to be driven around with a limousine, wanted to be lodged in a 5-star hotel, wanted to be given some money to shop for himself and his family, and some extra change to come back with. 2 days later, somebody called him. How are you? He found himself in Dubai the following month, all expense paid. He was driven from the airport to his hotel by a limousine. He was lodged in a 5-star hotel. He was given money to to shop for himself and his family. He got extra change to come back. He arrived back to Nigeria Saturday, requested to see me, and we met on Sunday. We were sitting side by side when he was sharing this story with me. Now, this happened 2018 thereabout. Long time ago, perhaps it's 2026. We were together January 2026 when I was in Nigeria. And I wanted to know what's going on. This young man has mentored countless people. He has replicated what I taught him to countless people. We stood there to talk for less than 25 minutes. During that time while we're standing to talk, not up to 20, maybe about 15 minutes, while we're talking, somebody drove by, waved at him and passed, and he told me, that guy is one of the beneficiaries of my NLP teaching. I don't know whether it's called NLP, I don't know the science behind it, but I know what you taught worked for me. And I put a framework, and now I'm teaching other people. Now, question 2, most people have heard of the mind being powerful, but they have no idea how to deliberately direct it. What is actually happening in the brain when we prime it? What is the neuroscience behind why it works? The mind does not know the difference between what is real and imagined. It is what you experience in everyday life. So you don't need science to prove it to you. You experience it any and every day. Flying from Nigeria to London one time, my flight was for 11:55 p.m. at night, and we had checked in. Just at the point to start boarding, the airline officials came and then began to talk to us. We're already in a particular place. In fact, we could see the supposed plane outside. So they came and began to talk to us like in small groups. Like they didn't want other people who were not flying with us to hear what they were saying. And what they were saying was that the plane, that they wanted to change, they wanted to swap the plane, and then since it's a different plane, it's a different number, of course, a number of things were going to change. They were giving us a new boarding pass, but they didn't want people outside to know, so they were doing it one-on-one quietly. I wasn't comfortable, but later when I approached to one of them that, what exactly is going on? Talk to me, what is going on? He said, yeah, the other one has a mechanical issue, so they have gotten another plane. But this one, because I know that there's a routine check before a plane takes off. There's the routine check. This one that is scheduled to fly at 11:55 would have gone through the routine check. And I know their routine check for international flight from Nigeria all the way to London would not be a routine check of 30 minutes. So you should have way earlier and started this process. So if it is something you are doing now in an emergency, it's appearing to me as though you've not properly completed the routine check for this plane we want to use. So I was not comfortable. Could this plane have been scheduled to go to Dubai or to the US? You cancel their own flight to come and take us to London. That's not possible. So I had so many questions. Now, I currently don't have a personal Nigerian number. So even up to now, and at the time I didn't have internet network, so I didn't have internet. Please talk of that network. I didn't have internet. So from 5 p.m. when my EA dropped me at the airport and left, I was without internet. So at this time, I'm about flying, no network to tell my wife what was going on, when I was going to arrive, because my flight was now moved to 2 hours later than the normal time. So I dropped a chat, with my wife. I sent a chat to my wife. This was what's going on. I don't know what exactly these guys are trying to do, but just have it, the records, just in case anything happens. And then we flew. Long story short, of course, we landed safely. But the point I'm making is, see how the mind begins to make some things real. These guys, that plane is not fit to fly. Now they are doing a backyard walk to have us fly with another plane that is not ready. Anything can happen, and then your heart begins to beat faster. Those who have high BP begin to have problem. Some people begin to have running stomach to run to toilet. You're no more yourself. How many people have been in turbulence when the thing is going up and coming down, and all the names of God in alphabet A to Z, they call everything 3 times. God is Alpha and Omega. B is the blessed Savior. C, they call to Z. They go all over again, calling God, praying and all that. And it's just ordinary turbulence. Growing up as boys, when you're sleeping, and then you dream that you're easing yourself and you wake up, you've eased yourself from your body. And a friend once said, that's the only dream that comes true. Right? So you're watching a skit, and then this person just throws something at the camera, and it's as though the camera is coming at you, and you take your camera off your face. That thing isn't real, but your mind does not know. Now you're watching this thing, and then suddenly the plane is falling, or the person is falling from height, and you can literally feel it as though you're falling. You must have experienced that before. Your mind does not know if you're just imagining or just watching, or if it is real, but you feel it and you're like, oh, I don't like this. Or maybe there's a movie, people are stabbing and killing. It's not a movie. It's not a documentary of what happened, just a movie. And like, no, this is a horror movie. I can't watch this. I can't see. You're just imagining the thing in real life, but your mind does not even know if it is real or not. Let's go back to that priming. I once worked as a facility manager at some point in my career. That should be some 15, 14 years ago. And as a facility manager, I had plumbers who worked with me. And I got to know that when we have a pumping machine pumping out water, maybe from a tank A to a tank B, or pulling from the surface tank to the overhead tank, but moving water from one point to another, if it so happened that the pump was supposed to pump the water for 3 hours, and you've already timed yourself that 3rd hours on the dot, I'll go and turn off the machine so it doesn't suck air. And the machine worked faster, and then the machine still on, it ends up sucking air. So what happens is this: you now have air at some point between the machine and the hose. The next time you want to use that machine, it does not draw water because there's air. So what you now need to do is to prime it. And my guys used to manually do it. So where they pump it to get the air out, and then once they've shrunk and reduced that surface area or that space where you have the air, to fill it up with some water, you turn on the machine, it picks up quickly and then begins to draw the water. Now that's what you do to your brain. And I'll call that exercise. You exercise your brain, you exercise your mind, you hypnotize your mind, you deceive your mind, you tell your mind something even though it is not true. When you do this, your mind then begins to look for opportunities, people, places, situations, circumstances to buttress that thing you are thinking about. Your mind sees that thing you're thinking about as real. When you go to the real world, the mind takes that thing you thought about, because it has impressed on it as real. It takes it as history, as memory. When you are now looking for it, your mind now has a part of the brain called the Reticular Activating System. It now begins to look around the certain regions around you, looking for how to bring more and more of that to you. And that's why somebody who thinks about something that is negative, what you don't want, you experience more of it. You're thinking about no money, we are struggling. How do we even survive? How do we even pay bills? How do we even do this? How do we even... You're saying it, and now during the day, how do we even do this? What kind of life is this? You're thinking it. Your mind will give you more and more of what to think about, what to worry about, what you're not able to sort out. And then you're going to be noticing more problems. How soon the house rent will be due? How soon the tuition will be due? How soon your bills are ready? And how soon that person will come after you hoeing? Your mind will keep giving you more and more and more and more of that. But when you prime your brain, you deceive your brain such that your brain now thinks you now have XYZ. Your brain now believes you are healthy and happy. You are in a better relationship. Your business is picking up. Things are better or things are working out for you. When you go out during the day and you're experiencing contrary experience, if you've impressed it strong enough in your mind disagrees with those things, because as far as memory is concerned, this is not who I am. Your mind now begins to look for things that will make the relationship better. Now you now begin to notice opportunities that you never saw before in your partner, in your relationship, in your health, in your business. So I hope that answers the question. Question 3, NLP is sometimes dismissed as pseudoscience or motivational hype. How do you respond to these skeptics, and what evidence would you point them to that settles this debate? It's simple. I've given you illustrations in my previous responses to the previous questions, but let me use some of the NLP presuppositions, the underlying beliefs that we have in NLP, that NLP is built on. Now, we'll talk about presuppositions. These are the pillars on which NLP science is founded on. In my own church, there is something we call the 22 doctrines of the Bible. So, the Christian faith, the preachings, the theological beliefs of that denomination is built on these 22 pillars, which we call the 22 doctrines of the Bible. Now, coming to NLP, NLP has its own doctrines, pillars, on which what is being taught is based on. One of which is your map is not the territory. Your map is not the territory. Have you ever done or gone map reading before? Now we have the Google map. Before now, what was common in my own days when I was in secondary school was the paper map. Google map, paper map. Let me just put them side by side. When you look at this map and you're looking at a point A to point B, you're in point A and you need to get to point B. The map tells you, if it's a Google map, the map tells you how long it will take. The map tells you the route you need to take, the alternative routes, the areas that are blocked. In fact, it could even tell you police checkpoints, to tell you where there's speed camera, speed limits, etc. Fantastic. But while you're driving, but while looking at that map, will the map tell you areas where there are green areas? Maybe yes. Of course, the map even tells you where you have water bodies. So maybe yes. Does the map tell you how many trees there are? Does the map tell you the height in meter or in feet of those trees there? The areas or the compound or premises that are fenced? Does the map tell you the height of those fences? The road where you're going to take? Does the map tell you the areas where you have potholes? Does the map tell you how deep the pothole is? The map doesn't any of those. Now, that tells us that the map is limited by nature. Hold that in your left hand. Now, coming to the right, our life experiences is like a map and it's a program. I am programmed to look at the world in a particular way based on my background, my belief, my upbringing, what I've been told. I see other religions in a particular way. I see other race in a particular, other nationalities in a certain way. I see women in a particular way. I see those who call themselves LGBTQ. I see them in a particular way. I see other people's meals and food in a particular way. I see in a particular way. There's a way I see everything in the whole world, good, bad, and ugly. Things I agree with, things I disagree with. I see everything in a particular way. How do I see them? I see them through a lens. What lens is that? From my memory. What I've been told. Well, this is not where the memory is, but I'm just trying to say the past. What I've been told, what I've been taught, what I've been made to believe. My church, by and large, has had the greatest impact in my faith. How I see God, how I see humanity, how I see eternity, than anything, than anyone else. In fact, my pastor, not even just my church. Now, when I go to another denomination that is not the same as mine, who dress differently, worship differently, their pastor preaches differently, performs miracles differently, they interact differently, they sing differently. How do I know they are different? Because there's a lens in which I'm looking at, and there's this comparison going on in my head. This is what I know. This is what they are. Now, with this lens and comparison going on, that is building a map. So when it comes to church and worship, there is a map I have based on my upbringing, where I'm coming from. And that is my map. Now, the question is, the way God is worshipped in my church Is that the ultimate way to worship God? Is that the only way to worship God? Is that the way to worship God? Anyone who does otherwise is wrong, is sinful, is not worshiping God. Is it? The answer is no. There are certain instruments that are not used in my church. Those who use those instruments, are they sinful? Are they worshiping something else? The answer is no. Of course, growing up, I believed that those who are using other instruments that we don't use are not worshiping God, they are committing sin. But now I know better. But the point is, that lens is there, and that touches on every area of our lives. A lady grows up. A lady grew up in a home where you don't tell lies. Even when you say, I'm just kidding, I'm just being cheeky. You don't do that here. You might be spanked. You don't get cheeky. You say the truth and the truth alone. But this guy grew up in a home where himself and his dad, they play hide and seek. I didn't take it. No, don't they play all those play and we're just playing, we're just teasing each other, having fun. And this boy and this girl grew up and gets married. This lady grew up from a home where they are very strict. You don't play with lies. You don't say you're being cheeky. You don't say you are teasing. Say the truth and that's it, or else you'll be punished. And this guy grew up from an opposite home where things are a bit more relaxed and they are raising a child. And this guy is playing with their baby girl. And then the wife says, what are you doing? Do you mean you're teaching her how to tell lies? How to be deceptive? How to be diplomatic? And then she begins to hide it. And he's like, hey, whoa, calm down. I don't understand what you're saying. I don't get it. Then they begin to argue. And then another time, something similar happens. They argue again and begin to fight. Looking at one thing, this lady is seeing it from her own lens. This guy is seeing it from his own lens. Is this lady's map the territory? Is this guy's map the territory? The answer is no. Am I advocating for cheekiness, if that English is correct? For diplomacy, for lies? Absolutely not. But there's a way you can play hide and seek with your kids as well, that this lady is taking rather to the extreme. So the point I'm making is, this is a presupposition that, okay, so where the lesson now lies is this. If you can understand that your map is limited by nature, your map is not the truth. Your map is not the territory. Your map is not the truth in the real sense of the word. Then you are able to accommodate other people. This singular presupposition I just shared is the reason why we have the divorce in our families, the separation among business partners, the wars and commotions we're having in the Middle East and different parts of the world. The map is not the territory. Somebody says you shouldn't have nooks, and that person says we must have nooks. This one says, why would you stop him? Is it your prerogative? Who gave you the right to tell him not to have nooks? And this one is saying, no, if he has it, so I'm supporting this one to have it. And then this one is seeing it differently. This one is seeing it differently. And then before you know what, this is throwing this at this, it's throwing at this. And the man says, I'm not going to stay here, I'm moving out. And this man is saying, this is the end of our partnership, I'm leaving this business. And different things begin to happen. Your map is not the territory. I could go on and on with other presuppositions, but this is just to buttress to you that NLP as a science on its own also relates and interferes and touches on our daily life and our daily experiences. Thank you very much. I hope you found this podcast helpful and useful. Please stay glued with us. If you're not following us, if you're not subscribed, why not kindly click on that bell, on that notification bell, and of course do subscribe to us, such that when we produce and get out more content as useful as this, you can be aware and be the first to participate and partake in it. And of course, should you have questions and feedbacks for us, please do well to drop them in the comment section or send us an email, and we'll be happy to interact with you and be of help to you. Thank you all, and cheers, be well.